appropriate sense of humor, but his jokes kept getting more and more over the top, and finally I asked what got into him. And he said, well, I figure these emails are all being monitored, and I'm just hoping this stuff will have to be read out loud in court one day. I hear things like this all the time. The NSA monitoring phone records, the FBI trolling on social media, corporations hiring their own private agencies to spy on protesters. All of it is just taken as a given. It's become normal. All the while we are told if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about. But the thing is, that's only said to us. For ordinary people, privacy doesn't exist. But for corporations and people in power, they're allowed to operate with increasing secrecy. Politicians use their personal email addresses to evade transparency. Open records laws are being restricted or flat out rewritten to exempt polluting corporations. Challenging this hypocrisy is increasingly dangerous. When people like Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning expose what the government is doing, they are labeled as enemies of the state. When whistleblowers expose what happens on factory farms, they are labeled as terrorists. Bill Moyers once said that secrecy is the freedom that zealots dream of. But if secrecy is their freedom, surveillance is our tether. This is the slow, steady chill that turns free societies into police states. It's like when people are trapped in snow and ice. At first, you feel it and you shiver. Then, at some point, the cold tricks your brain. The hypothalamus, which regulates your body temperature, malfunctions. People suffering from extreme hypothermia actually start to undress. Against their best interest, they give up what little protection they have left from the cold.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again.
There's a scene in James Baldwin's novel, Another Country, where Reverend Foster is addressing his congregation, and he says to them, and I tell you something else, don't none of you forget it. I know a lot of people done took their own lives, and they're walking up and down the streets today, and some of them is preaching the gospel, and some is sitting in the seats of the mighty. Now you remember that. If the world wasn't so full of dead folks, maybe those of us that's trying to live wouldn't have to suffer so bad. I think what Baldwin was tapping into is that it's hard enough just trying to get by, but it's even harder when you start opening your eyes and you see what all these corpses have created. I've interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of people fighting for social justice over the years, from all different backgrounds and movements, and one of the most glaring common threads I've seen is this shared pain, the wounding of the soul that comes when your heart is permanently pried open and the whole world keeps flooding in, not just the love and the joy, but the violence and suffering and hunger. Maybe it takes years or even decades, but at some point it's just too much for even the strongest hearts. It starts to feel like it's all pumping faster and faster and filling your veins, but your body can't keep up, and it can't filter out all that waste and pain, and then it can't push that clean blood back out to the rest of your body before everything else just starts slowing down and seeming pointless, and you stop being able to think clearly and move quickly, and it feels like you're just drowning in it all. And I'll tell you something, on those days, the darkest ones, I daydream about being in some kind of accident. Nothing fatal. I'm not trying to end things. I just want something, anything, so that I have an excuse to just lay here in my own corpse pose and not do anything or answer to anyone and just be numb. I feel like a monster for saying this because I know real people are hurting in real hospital beds, but part of me just wishes the pain was something I could see. Broken bones, open sores, something I could care for and watch heal. When that darkness presses in on you, it's everywhere and it's nowhere, and you can't take a swing at something you can't even see. This is the part of the story where I'm supposed to tell you how I stop that, how I collect myself and rally and fight. This is where I tell you how to keep your own heart beating. But I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not going to tell you I have all the answers, because I don't. And I don't think you should trust anyone who says they do. I'm not going to tell you to rely on hope, because I think it's okay that you've lost that. You can lose faith. You can lose faith in politicians and lose faith in the state, lose faith in churches and lose faith in cops, in schools, in media, and lose faith in all of it and just let it burn. But here's the one thing I do know. You can't lose faith in each other. You can't lose faith in those other souls in their own dark rooms. You can't lose faith in your own ability to be there for them, because even on these darkest days, you are not alone. I'm here with you, and there are others. You're not alone. Woody Guthrie wrote out his New Year's resolutions back in 1942, and he included one that I think is a starting point when we don't know what else to do. Wake up and fight. You are not alone. Some days we have to lie like a corpse and then we just rise again. You're not alone, and maybe if I say it loudly enough, I'll start to hear it too. You're not alone. Now wake up and fight.